The feminine aspect of ourselves, also understood as the yin part of ourselves, is seen as the receptive force. The more anchored you are in your feminine power, the more you're able to receive all the good things in life. To connect to that feminine abundant flow, I have 5 questions for you today, and 3 minutes to answer each one. The idea here is to connect to that receptive aspect of ourselves. If you notice that you tend to push or force or make things happen or try and control, it shows that you're in your masculine energy a lot more. And so these questions are to encourage you to become more receptive, to be able to pull back and receive and allow things to come to you as and when they need to, which has a lot to do with trust as well, which is also a feminine thing. Just looking for the timer. Okay, 3 minutes. Ready? Ooh, I want to open my journal. Let's start. When was the last time you allowed yourself to receive unconditionally, and what was it? So when was the last time you allowed yourself to receive unconditionally, and what was it? I always, with questions like this, I mean like hugs, or when someone brings you a bottle of wine, or actually, I was really sad at the start of this year for a myriad of reasons, and a friend of mine surprised me with a bouquet of flowers that were delivered to my door. And I mean, I was already really sensitive at that time, but it just made me burst into tears, and it was so beautiful to be able to receive that, to just receive it and not give anything in return and not be expected to be or do anything. So that was my most recent time. I'm trying to think of some more while you write, and I'll write. As I'm writing, I'm realizing that I have incredibly generous female friends. I feel like they give me so much time and energy and support and just love in so many ways. I'm really very grateful and fortunate, and it's not that that's just happened by chance. It's the relationships I've nurtured and cultivated and intentionally called into my life, and I'm so deeply grateful for them. Right, we've got 20 seconds left. All right, next question. What percentage of energy do you give away to others? So how much of your energy do you give away to others? Let's begin. This is going to be a challenging question for many of us, I think, because if we're truly honest with ourselves, we probably give way more than we keep for ourselves, and potentially more than we receive. And if you feel depleted and there's an energetic imbalance, that's something that needs to be addressed. And it's also because often we're not being receptive enough, in that instead of allowing other people to, or others in general, it doesn't always have to be people, it can be organizations and all sorts of things, to support and help us, if we just try and be independent and do everything ourselves, then we don't actually give the world a chance to give us what it is that we need. Excuse me while I pick up my little piece of paper that's fallen down. You keep writing. It's really not playing with me. You keep writing. I notice with the work that I do, especially being on social media, I do give away a lot of energy, and so I have to have really strong boundaries with myself around when I turn technology off, when I say no to things, when I say no to, I have to actively choose to say no a lot more than I say yes. Otherwise, I end up giving away way too much of my energy and not being resourceful with it and not being smart with it. There's ways to give and in a way that's intelligent, and there's ways to give in a way that is really where the energy just disperses and it doesn't land and it doesn't have the impact that you wish it to. So we do have to be smart with the way that we use our energy, especially as women. It's not a finite source, you know, there's a limit to how much you have per day. Something to remember. All right, 20 seconds left. How much of your energy do you give away to others? Intuitively, I feel like the answer for me is about 80%, which is quite high, really. 20% for myself. Okay, next one. How much energy do you receive in return? Let's begin. So how much energy do you receive in return? And what does that look like when you receive it? I feel like I receive quite a lot, but I'm not sure if it's matched to how much I give. Though I think it's not a linear thing, you know. Sometimes I receive a lot and I give less, and other times I give a lot and I receive less. But perhaps somewhere down the line it all evens out, because it's not just about tit for tat. Is that a saying? Sometimes I get confused with English sayings, or like I feel like I've made them up, but it doesn't always have to be direct, like I give something, you give something. Sometimes I give to one person and I receive from a different source entirely, and it doesn't matter as long as that energetic balance and harmony returns at the end of the week or the month. So my intuitive answer for me in regards to how much energy I receive in return is that it's generally balanced, but there is a little bit of depletion, which has to do with a lack of boundaries on my part and not anyone else. Oh, we've got just over a minute left. I'd be so curious to hear what your experience is. I feel like this is a conversation we could have that goes beyond journaling, really. Yeah. The intuitive message that's coming through for me is that I do need to pull back more, and allow more and allow myself to receive more, so be in my feminine more. Even though I feel like I'm in my feminine a lot, there's room for more. Isn't that interesting? I just learned something. Thank you for witnessing that. Hold on. You keep writing. Third question. How does receiving pleasure make you feel? And pleasure can be all sorts of things. I'm going to start the timer now. Begin. How does receiving pleasure make you feel? So any kind of pleasurable experience, whether it's sitting in the sun or taking time out to rest or breathing or spending time with people or allowing someone to give you a massage or to do things for you or to help you with something, or even giving yourself pleasure in all sorts of ways. How does that make you feel? And the reason why we want to answer this question is because if there is some resistance or hesitance, it shows you that this is a place where you can lean into your feminine energy and become more devoted to allowing more pleasure into your life. I personally love pleasure. I wouldn't say I'm a hedonist, but pleasure is really important to me. However, I do have a tendency to play a bit of a martyr role, which is to cut myself off from pleasure and not dive into it as deeply as I could, and it's something that I want to change. So ready and so willing for more pleasure, and so that's what I'm writing about. What do you think? You've got 1.5 minutes left. I think many of us have been taught to prioritize our commitments and work and all sorts of other things above pleasure, and so this is an invitation to prioritize pleasure above all of those things. So just asking yourself the question, how is this going to make me feel? Is it going to make me feel good? Then do it. If it's not going to make me feel good, can I not do it? Can I say no to this thing? When we make pleasure our priority, we soften into our bodies and we relax, and we're able to be so much more receptive and in our feminine, and then in general so much more really good stuff happens for us and to us, which I think is kind of what we all want, right? Alright, last question, number 4. How can you practice receiving more today? How can you practice receiving today? 3 minutes. I have a friend coming over for dinner, and I think normally I'd be like, I can do it, don't worry, but I'm going to give him some tasks. I'm going to let him help. And just in general, be receptive to allowing others to offer their skills and services and time and attention, which I'm usually quite good at. I think another way that you can practice receiving is to ask. Ask for what you need. I think many of us, especially us women, have a really hard time asking for what we need, especially in this culture. People just shy away, women in particular, shy away from just asking what they need, and they will maneuver into the strangest positions to avoid asking for what they need and try and meet all the needs themselves or do everything themselves, and it's destroying lives. And no wonder the feminine is out of balance. If you can't ask for what you need, how can you receive it? So I feel like if you can't think of anything, then I would urge you to write down all the ways, all the things that you could ask for help with. Big things, little things, all sorts of things. Actually give yourself permission to start asking for help. Maybe even write down who you want to ask for what. Even though it's scary, and maybe that could be your homework today, that even though it's scary, you will ask for one thing today. Another beautiful thing about asking is it offers an opportunity for someone else to help. And the funny thing is that everyone loves to help other people. It's not something that we shy away from the way that we do asking for help. When someone asks me for help, I'm so honored, and I'll do it if I can. You know, obviously if I can't, or if I have a boundary around something, then I won't. But we're all so willing and desirous of wanting to help each other. It's such a sweet, beautiful thing, and it creates trust, and it creates vulnerability, and it creates intimacy, and these are all wonderful things to have in life in general, especially as a feminine being. All right, well done. How do you feel? Do you feel like you've learned a lot about how to be in your feminine, connect with your feminine, and become more receptive? I hope so. I have a magical bonus question, but it's not really a question, it's a task. I want you to make some art that represents you being in your feminine, whether that's a drawing or a clay or a photograph or a collage or a cake, whatever it is. Do something creative, create some kind of art. And I mean, everything's creative almost. That is a symbol of you entering your receptive feminine. Isn't that fun? If you do, I want you to, or when you do, I want you to tag me in it in Instagram so I can share, because I would love to see what kind of art you come up with.